Please don't leave me.
We're fine. Don't worry, I'm not going anywhere. Hey, Jimmy!
We just gotta fight some sharks.
A Category 2 storm turns into a deadly Category 5, and an entire town has only hours left to survive. This is Hurricane Henry, and it is heading straight toward a small town called Annaville in South Carolina. The government orders an immediate evacuation, warning everyone to leave before it is too late. Inside this town lives Dakota, a young woman who has recently lost her mother. The trauma has made her agoraphobic, meaning she is too scared to even step outside her house. While everyone else is rushing to escape, Dakota is stuck inside, trying to act normal. She orders food and watches the news, but the situation outside keeps getting worse. She tries to step out to get supplies, but fear takes over, and she runs back inside. As the town prepares to leave, Dakota becomes one of the few people who stay behind. At the same time, 3 siblings, Ron, Dee, and Willie, are spending time near the swamps, unaware of the danger coming toward them. They live with their foster parents, who treat them badly and barely feed them. Suddenly, their foster father Billy arrives and angrily forces them into the truck, taking them back home. Elsewhere, a marine scientist named Dale, who has special affection for sharks, studies the storm closely. He discovers something even more terrifying. Hurricane Henry is not just bringing destruction, it is also bringing a large number of bull sharks into the town. These sharks are extremely aggressive and attack in groups. Realizing the danger, Dale decides to warn his niece Dakota. He calls her and begs her to leave immediately, warning her that the storm could destroy her house or flood it completely. But Dakota refuses to go outside, no matter how serious the situation is. Dale, worried for her safety, decides to come and get her himself. Meanwhile, Billy drives back home with the kids while a news broadcast keeps warning people to evacuate. The children get scared, but Billy ignores everything and refuses to believe the danger. At home, he assures them that the house is strong and protected, with backup power and safety measures. Confident that nothing can harm them, he goes down to the basement. There, his wife Rachel shows him the money they receive for keeping the kids, which explains why they tolerate them. When Dee enters and asks for food, she is given almost nothing and forced to leave. Billy warns her that the basement is strictly off limits. At the same time, a reporter named Joe questions Dale about a recent shark attack. Dale explains that bull sharks are responsible and they hunt in groups, but the reporter twists his words to create panic. Not far away, a pregnant woman named Lisa arrives at a supermarket, only to find it already closed. She returns to her car. As she tries to talk to her mother, the network goes down and the winds start getting stronger. Suddenly, the storm hits harder than expected and the levees break. Water rushes into the town at full speed. Lisa tries to escape to higher ground, but the roads are blocked. A truck driver named Bob tells her to follow him as he clears the path. But as the water rises quickly, Lisa gets stuck, unable to move forward. Bob tries to escape on his own, but the flood catches up to him as well. Back at her house, Dakota looks outside as the storm closes in. Just before the water reaches her home, she manages to secure herself inside. Ron and his siblings look outside the window and are terrified as water quickly floods the streets. They try to warn Billy, but he ignores them like always. Within seconds, the situation turns deadly as the glass suddenly shatters and water bursts into the house, catching Billy completely off guard. At the same time, the flood sweeps away Lisa's car. Just when it seems like she will be carried away, a tree branch crashes through the vehicle and stops it. Trapped inside, Lisa watches the water rise and screams for help. Dakota sees everything from her house, but freezes in fear and does nothing. Back at the house, Billy panics and looks for a way out. Ron quickly suggests using snorkels from their car to survive in the water. Billy agrees and rushes toward the garage with Rachel, hoping to escape. Meanwhile, Bob's truck, filled with raw meat, breaks down in the middle of the flood. Blood slowly spreads into the water, attracting something far more dangerous. Within minutes, sharks begin entering the town. Nearby, 2 men, Scott and Jimmy, hear Lisa's screams and rush to help. Scott jumps into the water and finds her trapped in the car. He quickly understands the situation and asks Jimmy to bring a cutter to free her. Lisa is panicking, but Scott tries to calm her, promising that he will save her. Jimmy finds the cutter and runs back, but suddenly disappears under the water. Scott gets confused and looks around. But then Jimmy suddenly resurfaces with his arm missing. Before Scott can react, a shark attacks and drags Jimmy away. Dakota watches this in horror and finally realizes the truth. There are sharks in the flood. Scott tries to go back to Lisa, but he is attacked next and brutally killed right in front of her. At the same time, Bob wakes up and tries to escape his truck, but the moment he steps into the water, a shark kills him instantly. Far away, Dale watches the news reporting hundreds of deaths in flooded areas. He grows more worried about Dakota, while Brian tries to calm him. Soon, Dale and Brian join reporter Joe in a truck, carrying a boat to rescue people. Joe is excited to film everything, while Dale is clearly focused on survival. Back at Billy's house, the kids watch their foster parents enter the garage. Suddenly, a shark appears before them, making them panic. In the garage, Billy tries to unlock the truck, but a shark attacks him from the water. He struggles, but the shark bites off his hand. It then turns toward Rachel and drags her away despite her screams. Bleeding and terrified, Billy somehow escapes and looks at the kids. But instead of helping them, he chooses to save himself. He runs toward the truck, but before he can escape, another shark attacks and pulls him away. The kids watch everything in shock. For a moment, they think it is over. But suddenly, Rachel appears outside the window. Before they can react, a shark brutally devours her right in front of them. Lisa struggles to free herself, but the metal and branches keep her trapped. Desperate, she calls out to Dakota for help. But Dakota refuses, still shaken after watching sharks kill people right in front of her. Lisa then reveals something shocking. She is pregnant, and she begs Dakota not to let her baby die before taking its first breath. Dakota hesitates, but then she notices a broken house roof floating nearby, forming a narrow path toward Lisa's car. After a brief moment of fear, she finally decides to help. She rushes to the kitchen, grabs a knife, and carefully steps onto the unstable roof. At one point, she slips and falls into the water, but quickly manages to climb back up before anything can reach her. With great caution, Dakota reaches Lisa's car and begins cutting through the roof. She uses the knife to break the branches trapping Lisa and finally frees her. Both of them rush back into the house and feel a brief moment of relief, but the danger is far from over. At the same time, Brian tracks the movement of tagged sharks and updates Dale about something terrifying. A massive shark named Nellie is nearby. Dale explains that Nellie is a giant pregnant great white they have been trying to catch for months. This means if she is here, the waters are filled with even more aggressive sharks. Back at Billy's house, Ron and his siblings realize the sharks are entering through the open door. They decide to shut it quickly. Dee moves carefully toward the door, but just as she reaches it, a huge shark suddenly bursts inside. She loses her balance and almost falls into the water, barely holding on. At the last second, Ron rushes in and pulls her back, saving her life. Meanwhile, inside Dakota's house, the water level keeps rising. Lisa grows worried and asks what their plan is, but Dakota has no answer. Lisa then suggests they should try to signal for help so that a helicopter might spot them. Dakota agrees, but just as she gets up, Lisa suddenly feels intense pain. Her labor has started. Back with Ron, he realizes they cannot stay inside anymore as the water keeps rising. He tells his siblings that they must reach the roof, but to do that, they need to distract the sharks first. Dee and the others are confused, but Ron believes they might find something useful in the basement. Dakota quickly writes, "Help," using curtains and manages to get back inside safely. Lisa feels relieved, knowing that if a helicopter passes by, they might finally be seen. But her condition keeps getting worse as the labor pains grow stronger. At the same time, Brian loses track of the tagged shark Nellie. He tells Dale that the signal is gone and the entire area may be down due to the storm. Dale immediately realizes what this means. Dakota is completely cut off, and they might be her only chance of survival. Without wasting time, he rushes to Joe and his cameraman and orders them to pack light so they can move as fast as possible. Back at the flooded house, Ron and his siblings see sharks moving all around them. Ron decides to wait for the right moment before jumping into the water. Dee suggests using the stakes as bait to distract the sharks, while Ron hopes to also find a weapon in the basement. Will reminds them that Billy always kept the basement off limits, and they all laugh bitterly, cursing him for how he treated them. But suddenly, Billy appears again, still alive. Meanwhile, Dale informs Greg about the rescue plan, and Greg warns him that time is running out. The levees have already broken, and the water level is rising every second. Inside Dakota's house, she notices a boat outside and tells Lisa that it could be their way out. They plan to escape before the sharks get inside, but Lisa suddenly feels another wave of pain. She begs her baby to wait, knowing they are not safe yet. Seeing her struggle, Dakota makes a risky decision. She decides to go out and bring the boat herself. Before leaving, Dakota remembers something her uncle once told her. Sharks can be distracted by vibrations that feel like injured prey. Using this idea, she grabs a torch, a vibrating toothbrush, and a trimmer. She places the vibrating items inside shopping bags to use as bait and ties the torch to her head for visibility. Lisa is surprised by her quick thinking. Dakota carefully drops the vibrating bags into the water and waits. At the same time, Dale explains to his team that Nellie is massive and more dangerous than anything they have faced. He also shows evidence of how bull sharks have already attacked livestock, proving how aggressive they are. Back at the house, Billy tries to manipulate the kids, telling them that sharks do not attack children and asking them to help him. But Ron does not believe him. Suddenly, Will finds a check showing that Billy has been receiving money for taking care of them. Ron realizes the truth. Billy was getting paid while starving them. Furious, Ron confronts him. Billy tries to threaten them, but it quickly turns into a fight. As Billy attacks Ron, he fights back, and after a brief struggle, Dee kicks Billy away. Enraged, Billy prepares to strike again, but before he can do anything, a shark suddenly attacks and drags him away. With the sharks distracted, Ron takes his chance and jumps into the water, swimming down to the basement. Inside, he quickly grabs the steaks from the freezer, but a shark enters behind him. Ron stays calm and uses a paint can to distract it. As the shark attacks the can, Ron frees himself and escapes. On his way back, he also grabs a box and safely returns to his siblings. At the same time, Dakota steps into the water and slowly moves forward. As she swims, she suddenly sees a shark attacking one of the vibrating bags. The plan is working, but now she is dangerously close to them. Dakota carefully moves forward while the sharks attack the vibrating bags one by one. Each second feels like her last. Suddenly, she comes across Bob's dead body floating in the water, and the sight terrifies her. She tries to move faster toward the boat, but within moments, she is surrounded by sharks. Just when it feels like it is over, something strange happens. The sharks suddenly slow down and swim past her instead of attacking. Dakota looks down and sees the real reason. A massive shadow moves beneath her. It is Nellie. The giant shark swims right under her. Dakota freezes and slowly spreads her legs, letting it pass without noticing her. One wrong move could have killed her instantly. As soon as Nellie moves away, Dakota gathers courage and rushes to the boat, collapsing inside in relief. Meanwhile, Joe asks Dale why he studies sharks. Dale explains that he grew up near the Zambezi River, where people feared only one animal, the hippopotamus. As a child, he once froze in fear when a hippo charged at him. But just before it could attack, two bull sharks suddenly appeared and drove it away. That was the first time he saw fear in a predator's eyes, and from that moment, he decided to study sharks. Suddenly, Brian's laptop reconnects, and they see shocking data. Sharks have spread all across Annaville. Joe asks if they have any weakness. Dale explains that sharks only fear bigger sharks and can be disturbed by electric current, but otherwise, they are nearly unstoppable. Luckily, they soon spot a SWAT truck filled with stun guns, giving them a possible advantage. As morning arrives, Dakota wakes up on the boat and looks toward her house, which is now almost completely submerged. Inside, Lisa is in extreme pain as her labor gets worse. Realizing the baby is coming, she tries to stay calm and plays music to focus. At the same time, Ron and his siblings open the box they brought from the basement. To their surprise, it is filled with dynamite. Seeing this, they finally have a chance to fight back. Back at the house, Lisa screams in pain as contractions hit harder. Suddenly, the structure collapses and she is thrown into the water. Despite everything, she manages to swim out and grab onto a floating log. There, in the middle of the flood, she gives birth. She quickly holds her baby, cuts the umbilical cord, and places the newborn safely on the log. But the blood in the water spreads fast, attracting nearby sharks. Lisa prepares to defend her child. As a shark moves closer, she fights back and manages to injure it, forcing it to retreat. She rushes back to protect her baby, but another shark attacks. Just in time, Dakota fires a shot from the boat, scaring the shark away and saving them. Meanwhile, Ron and his siblings prepare their plan. They attach the dynamite to the stakes and light them, ready to turn the sharks into targets. Ron and his siblings throw the stakes with dynamite into the water and wait for the sharks to take the bait. But nothing happens. For a moment, it feels like the plan has failed. Then Will remembers something he saw on TV. Sharks are attracted to movement and vibrations. Without wasting time, they rush closer and start splashing the water to create noise. Within seconds, it works. A shark begins moving toward them at full speed. Dee and Will run back, but Ron gets stuck. He struggles to free himself, and just as the shark is about to attack, he manages to trick it and escape at the last second. At the same time, Dakota pulls Lisa and her newborn baby onto the boat. But before Lisa can fully climb in, a shark hits the boat hard and flips it over. Just when things seem lost, Dale and his team arrive at the right moment. Seeing the sharks closing in, Dale throws stun guns into the water. The electric current spreads, disorienting the sharks and pushing them back. However, One shark still charges straight toward Dakota. Before it can reach her, something massive appears again. Nellie attacks the bull shark and drags it underwater. Everyone watches in shock as the giant predator devours it. Back at the house, Ron reunites with his siblings and tells them to stay hidden. As the sharks bite into the bait, the dynamites explode, killing them instantly. Realizing their plan has worked, the siblings celebrate for the first time and decide to leave the house and find a better life somewhere else. Meanwhile, Dakota is finally safe and hugs Dale in relief. Lisa is overwhelmed with emotion as she holds her baby. She borrows Brian's phone and calls her mother, who is relieved to hear her voice. Lisa then shows her the newborn, bringing a moment of happiness after all the chaos. On the other side, Ron and his siblings get into Billy's truck and decide to leave everything behind. They plan to start fresh in Florida, far away from this nightmare. But the danger is not over yet. As Greg watches the weather report, he is shocked to see that Hurricane Henry is still growing stronger and now heading toward another place. The disaster is far from over.